Hi guys, so this will be um, part three in my story about addiction. Wasn't gonna do a part three, like I just thought I'd do a part one and two. But then it kind of dawned on me that I haven't actually discussed how it got started in terms of gambling anyway. I've discussed alcohol before, but I think there's something like very concerning that I've noticed and something that people should be very worried about, particularly in culture in Ireland. And I guess seeing how simple it is, like how fast it can just happen, how normalised it is the most worrying thing for me. And that's kind of like the alcohol and gambling culture and drug taking in general. So, while I haven't necessarily, succumbed to, or succumb, whatever, gotten hooked on certain drugs, like certain class A drugs, I still think it's important to kind of look at what I've seen and kind of getting you to examine your own viewpoint on addictions and how it happens. So, one concerning thing for me was that I was very young when I started drinking, like 14, but there were guys starting like 2 years previous, and the whole thing was get served. If you can get served, you're the man, like you're the big dog basically. And that was like a goal, was just to get served alcohol. And the worrying thing would be that people aren't surprised when I say how young I was drinking and how young a lot of people are. And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, well, it's in Ireland, so some people that are a bit prudish might say, oh, that's very young, too young. And yeah, it is, but if you're being realistic about it, people are like 12 starting off, which is mad just to think about that. So, like, it's a cultural thing for sure. And then, like, when I go into the pub, as he said, loads of people are in there, and then obviously they're going over and placing a bet. They're immediately over to the bookies straight after, having a few points. And now it's even easier now that you can just do it online. You don't even need to go over to the bookies. But that's strategically placed, and I think we all know that, don't we? Like, we're not fools. We realise that there's the reason there's a bookies right next to a pub is because you're having alcohol, your inhibitions are way down, you're not going to stop yourself. You give in to your temptations a lot more. And just thinking back on it, like, it was insane. I remember in school, like, being 14 and 15, and we would literally be sitting in the class discussing what bets we put on at lunch and like what odds we fancied, and it was mad just thinking it. Just nobody'd let the dog in. Always debating which one of us loves him more. That's got to go down as brownie points to me. He was outside. But where was I? Like, that's not good, is it? Being that young and very openly talking about drinking and gambling, and it's very bad. Like going on your lunch break in school when you're only like, I mean, in school in any age, but knowing that we had to wear a jacket to cover up our school uniform because people wouldn't let us bet, and then we putting down bets. Then we all got the apps on our phones. Remember, like, one lad literally took out a loan or was like dealing with loan sharks putting on bets in school, and that's fucking mad. It should concern everyone. I think we have a very addictive culture in Ireland, but I think in general, like in Ireland and the UK, betting is something we do a lot. Gambling, like especially on sports. I guess it's big in the US, but like it's a bit weirder the way they do it. They call an accumulator like a parlay. I was there thinking, what the hell is that? They always have different terms, those. But for me, an accumulator makes more sense, doesn't it? But it should concern you a lot that 14, 15 year olds are putting on bets in school. And like we'd all be there with our slips waiting to see if they won. Um, then if they didn't win, we'd be straight over for the next bet. We'd all be saying it. Mates would ask me, "Oh, do you want to put on a bet? Like I've got money here if you want to." And I'd be like, "No, you're grand." And he'd be like, "Oh, we'll stick the money on and we'll split it if it wins." And I was like, "All right, fair enough then." And then we'd split the money if we won, which was rare enough. But yeah, it's also like just looking at how easy alcoholism can happen. Because like I had such a void when I was growing up, like I wasn't a confident kid. And like this is kind of what I'm looking into is like vulnerable kids. And I was definitely in that category because I was extremely vulnerable to people and their suggestions. Like I was suggestible, if you want to put it that way. But I just didn't have a set of boundaries or rules, like it hadn't been instilled in me from a young age. You can make of that what you will. I've already talked about issues I faced, but it's not a very nice place to be in when you just don't have any sense of self or who you are. You are more prone to gambling or drinking. And like I'm a very paranoid person, so I'd be worried about people lacing drugs full of shit or ripping me off. I get quite paranoid, so I kind of thought, okay, best to avoid that stuff. But the legal drugs, yeah, for sure, I was because they were accessible, and I guess I thought less of them. I didn't think they were as bad because they're legal, they're regulated by the government. People who work in, say, Paddy Power or Boyle Sports or whatever, Ladbrokes, you name it, like one of the famous bookies. And friends of yours worked there, like friends of mine worked in Paddy Power. So I was kind of like, alright, yeah, it's normalised. They're not bad people. They're not making a huge profit off the suffering of other people. However, like people do suffer from gambling addiction, and I remember feeling just really full of guilt and shame that I've put this money on and I've lost money. Then you win some of them, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win more now. I'm on a roll. It doesn't really stop, particularly if you have a personality like mine. It just keeps going. So you're kind of there, just like, oh yeah, I'll keep winning now. Once I win, I can win more money. And then when you lose some, it's like, oh, it wasn't really that much though, because I've won 90 quid. And then you get used to going out and saying, oh, sure, I'll only have a few drinks. Then you end up having loads when you get really anxious and can't talk to people. Well, this magic juice that you have is it allows you to talk to people. Great alcohol, wonderful drug. Then the fear kicks in the next day and you're dying. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone into work with a hangover. I find that very tragic, that I gambled and drank before I ever had a proper date, really. Isn't that tragic? Like, I guess I was really just looking to fill a void. Like, I could kind of relate to people when they talk about addictions, but not relationships. It's just something I really struggle with. Um, because you don't really care when you've such low self worth, which is what I'm trying to build up now. By knowing my boundaries, my rules, what I will and won't accept now. But I didn't have any of that. I just thought someone wants to be my friend, great. I'm lucky that they would even give me the time of day. So I'm betting there are a lot more people like that with low self esteem like me. And those are the types you should be looking out for. The susceptible people are the ones who aren't very confident, who you'll notice change in personality when they're drinking and gambling, like to a degree. Um, like I say, I know people who did both a lot more than me, but how it affects me is a lot more negative than how it would affect some people. And you get into the whole thing of other people are doing it, so I'm okay to do it. Other people are drinking and taking drugs. I'm just drinking, so I'm fine. But you're not. Like, you can say you are, but there's more going on in your head and more things can affect you. So don't be fooling yourself. And then if you're constantly gambling as well, the shame of losing that money. I remember if I saw people that worked in the bookies when I was out and about, I kind of got a shame of, oh fuck, they know me, they know I'm always in. Like I used to literally, the cafe I worked in a little tiny shopping centre where I used to live in Ballantyre, and I used to finish work and head straight in to put a bet on, because I was stressed and I thought, oh, I'll put a bet on, I've got a bit of money left over, I'll be fine, you know, which I wasn't, of course. Um, but did I care? No. And then I started drinking to get rid of the stress, and that wasn't good either. But like I say, when those stress chemicals are building up, you're like, oh God, give me a point now. They go down nicer, don't they? They definitely go down nicer. And now that I've had like a nice period of stress-free atmosphere and time off, which I'm grateful for. Like I was talking about gratitude, but I'm so grateful for that. Time to get more self-aware, building better habits. And then obviously the addiction to caffeine, another thing just to keep me going. Obviously that's not a very harmful one unless you're seriously overdoing it with the caffeine, which I was at times, but fortunately not that much. But I remember like getting addicted to exercise as well and just being obsessed, and that's one thing you don't think can ever happen. But I was looking up where to buy steroids, and I very nearly did. Like I remember there was a time where I thought protein powder and creatine were bad. Next thing I know, I'm on a website trying to buy steroids. Now it looked like a scam, so I was kind of getting scared when I thought, oh, all these ads are popping up, and then getting phone calls there from dodgy websites. It was like, okay, this shit is underground, you better leave it. But you see that obsessed kind of mindset that I have, it's not good. It really is just such a toxic thing to be in. And now it can be your best friend, like become addicted to something good. But I can put all my energy into something and just burn myself out. And I can get hooked on stuff like that dopamine hit very easily. So what I'm saying is we need to reevaluate our culture around drinking and gambling because it's way bigger than people are saying. Way bigger. And people are taking their lives because of it. People are, losing family homes, cars, you name it, with debt collectors and what have you. Drug addictions obviously are a big source of that as well, which I'm fortunate that I don't have the experience to speak about that, thank God. But there's plenty of people out there who, regardless of the substance, we all can relate to addiction. It's a bastard, and it'll take a lot from you. So stay well and look after yourselves, guys. And I'll speak to you in the next one. By the way, please, if you can, like, share these videos and subscribe. I'm really just trying to spread as much awareness as I can and grow this channel. Slowly but surely it's grown. I know a lot of people like my shorts that I put up. Shout out to our American viewers because there is a lot of you out there. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. On that note, guys, cheers, and I'll see you in the next one.